Welcome back to Chopper Test Kitchen, coming at you from an even smaller hotel room than the last episode. So for this one, we're doing things a little differently. We didn't have a vote for this episode. We decided to reward some of the more loyal voters from the Now Boarding podcast and do a dish that they've been requesting for the last few weeks. So we're going to be making poutine on this episode. To make it even more difficult on me, I decided to try to make my own cheese curds. So we're going to get to see how that turned out. That's about it. Let's just hit the graphic and we'll get right into it. Okay, so here we go. Cheese curds. We need animal rennet, calcium chloride, whatever thermophilic TA culture is, a couple gallons of milk. I feel like I'm in chemistry class, which was not my greatest subject in high school. No offense to you, Miss Jeffries, just wasn't really my thing. But hold on. I think I got something that'll make me feel a little more comfortable. That feels better. I like this. So, ooh, that was really loud. So, 2 gallons of milk. And before we get started, I was already a little nervous about this. Oh, these glasses are fogging up so fast. We've run into issue number 1 already. So, I need to keep this milk at 96 degrees for like half an hour. And I bought this thermometer for it. I don't know if you can see that. It starts at 100. So we're gonna have a bit of a guessing game on our hands, but we're gonna try the best that we can. Glasses are fogging up so bad. I want to save one of these for later. You'll see why, hopefully in a little bit, if this turns out okay. I was worried this pot was going to be too big. I guess not. And we're going to bring this up to 96 degrees. Once the milk's up to 96 degrees, we're going to add a half a teaspoon calcium chloride, 1 packet of thermophilic culture, and let that sit for about half an hour at 96 degrees. Next, we're going to add in a half a teaspoon of animal rennet mixed with a 1/4 cup of water and let that sit for about 20 minutes until it firms up and we can cut into 3/4 inch cubes. Then we're going to slowly, over the next half an hour, increase the heat to about 116, mixing as we go, and we should see that curd shrink up. What's the worst thing that could happen if I eat some of this?
You should. Aggressively. I don't know.
Tastes good. Yeah. It's like, this is gonna sound weird. It tastes like just solid milk. After about another half an hour, we're gonna strain that out through some cheesecloth and then let that sit for about 15 minutes. After the 15 minutes, we're going to press this with our gallon of milk that's been refilled with water, if we can figure out how to place this, for about 1 to 3 hours. That burner's been on the whole time?
I don't know.
Whoops. Okay, that's why we're smoking. Next up, we need to make some chicken gravy. So we're going to roast a whole chicken and use the drippings as the base for the gravy. So that's 4 tablespoons of butter and a 1/4 cup of maple syrup that we're going to pour over the whole chicken. And Okay, cancel the chicken because there's something in my oven that started smoking and I don't feel like setting off every fire alarm in my building. So we'll skip straight to the fries. We've got a pound of russet potatoes that we're just going to cut up before patting them dry on a paper towel. Then we're going to fry these guys first at 325 until golden, and then crank the heat up to 375 and cook them until they're nice and crispy. Gravy, take 2, we're going to add 1.5 cups of chicken broth and bring that up to a boil before adding in another 1/2 cup of chicken broth that we're going to add 1/3 cup of flour and a teaspoon each of salt and pepper. Mix that together and then slowly drizzle that in, making sure to stir the whole time so it doesn't get lumpy. And Poutine's gravy is a little thinner, so we're going to add a little more chicken broth until we get it to the consistency that we're looking for. Oh. What's that? Look how cool that looks. So once the cheese curds are done being pressed, we're just going to break those up into small pieces and then toss with a little bit of salt. Now that the fries are done, we're going to toss those with salt, pepper, parsley, garlic, and smoked paprika. And now it's time to start plating. We're going to start with a base of our fries, add in some cheese curds, and then finally we're going to top that with a little bit of gravy and a little extra parsley for garnish. So our judges, we're rolling. We got 2G, Oscar Mike, Dan from Now Boarding. He can finally put a face to the name. And Lindsay snuck in here. First reactions.
Ladies first. While I stuck my face.
The gravy is really good. I'm
That's
a
it?
big fan.
What's
It's
the
the first reaction. God, let me process.
It's more than what I expected. I've been to Montreal many times, Quebec a couple times. I don't know the last time I had poutine, but I have to say the gravy and these curds, I can eat them probably for the next half hour.
I've
2G.
never had this before, so I'm coming in. This is a whole new experience. I think it's fantastic. Like they said, the first thing that pops out to me is the gravy. It's fantastic. You want to start looking at scores. I'm going to say 5 on presentation. Looks fantastic. Fries, great crunch. Soft in the innards.
That's disgusting.
The curds. I didn't know what to expect with someone doing their own curds. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna go 4.25. 4.25.
Better than the gumbo.
You know,
Yeah.
I was coming in before seeing this and before tasting it, before even having a curd, which I have to say we did have a couple curds before, and we even dipped our fingers to have the gravy. But I wanted to give you no more than a 4. I really wanted to give you a 3.2 or something. And it really shames me to say I have to go above that. I do have to go into the 4 range. You're not Quebecois.
True.
So that even raises your points further. We're going to have to give you a 4.4.
We're handing out difficulty points.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah, totally.
Lindsay.
I think I'm gonna give it a 5. Yeah.
Surprise,
Sorry,
surprise.
guys. I did not give it a 5 last time.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Wow.
I think it all comes together very nicely.
All right.
Hold on.
And you're probably not gonna get any because we're gonna eat it all. So.
I'd like to say one thing further if I can.
Yes.
I made a promise to the CEO of the greater network, Mr. Jimmy Hoffman, and he has to know that I fulfilled the promise coming up to your apartment. But I said this before we began video recording. I'm going to Quebec City in next weekend. I'm going to have Poutine there, God willing. And this score might be redacted.
It's a tentative 4.4. We'll mark it down like that. All right. So we got a 4.25, 4.4, and a 5. I don't know what that averages out to, but you'll see it on your screen right about now once I get a calculator in front of me. Thanks, guys.
Little belly pose again, though. That's Mia's pose.
I know. That's where I learned it from. Okay, so there it is. Poutine is done. We got pretty good scores, surprisingly good scores. Yeah, I'm just kind of shocked. The score from Dan. Lindsay gave out a perfect score, which I was really not expecting. Thank you for watching. As always, the links to nowboarding.com are in the description. You can go to my show page there. Instagram, I have Twitter now. I'm tweeting, I think every day, most days. So check me out on there. Thank you to 2G from Oscar Mike for coming over, for being a judge. You can check out his first episode on October 3rd, wherever you download your podcasts. Thank you to Dan for making the trip. Check out Now Boarding every Monday, also wherever you get a podcast. Thank you to Lindsay for giving me a perfect score. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Forgot to thank MOLSON Canadian for fueling this 5.5 hour experiment. Cheese curds, they're really not that hard. I wasn't worried about it at all. Thanks for watching.